Well, today I'm a little bit nervous about what I'm about to do because, well, first of all, I've never done this before, and I'm kind of winging it because I really don't know uh, quite what I'm going to say, but I know what I'm going to talk about. Anyway, what I'm going to talk about today is something that I've kept secret for pretty much my whole life. And this is something that happened quite a long time ago. And it's kind of interesting, but it's such a big part of my life. And yet, being an alcoholic, being codependent, um, it's so typical that we go into hiding and the really precious things we never talk about. We keep them secret. We keep them hidden. And that's because from childhood we were ridiculed, we were criticized, we were threatened. So we learned to present a false self to the world and the precious things we kept secret. And I know that was so true for me. The things that happened that were the most precious, I just never even thought of telling anybody. And it's kind of really an amazing thing. But anyway, in recovery, I'm learning to come out of hiding and be the person that I really am. And I'm learning to tell my stories to help other people who are struggling with the same sort of thing of going into hiding and the shame and the trauma that they suffered that they've never dealt with. So to heal, we have to come out of hiding and we have to heal. And this is a big part of it. So anyway, I'm going to tell you something that has been secret for forever, Uh, and so what I'm going to talk about, there was the prophet said too that he said, "Don't cast your pearls before swine," and that's kind of what it's like too. Like the really precious things to you, why would you just tell people, and be subject to their criticism, say for example. But anyway, it's just a principle. And so now I'm going to tell this story that is such an important part of my life. And I realized I was just thinking about this the other day. If I were to ever sit down and write like the real autobiography of my life, what I'm going to tell you today would be kind of like be a pivotal chapter. This is a moment in my life that probably changed my life. And it was a moment probably uh, that that means that I'm here today. I wouldn't be here if it probably wasn't for what happened a long time ago. So anyway, the story is, I'll tell you the story. This was a time when I was, I've said many times, lower in a snake's belly, at the end of a rope, quite literally. And I'd had my heart ripped out more often than some people change their underwear. And I just didn't want to be around anymore because I was in so much pain that I just didn't want to go through that pain. It was so and and hopelessness. Like I just kind of thought this is going to go on forever. It's never going to end. So I just don't want to be around anymore. And this is very common actually. Like if you ever go to divorce mate programs, it's very common amongst people that go through divorce and are suffering depression and anxiety to have suicidal thoughts, and but we don't talk about it that much. But anyway, this was a point when this is how I was genuinely feeling. And one thing about, ending your life, I mean, a lot of people think about it, but when you're really thinking of doing it, it's a little bit more complicated because if like, how are you going to do it? And so I was at that point. And just by the way, like one thing that you learn when you go through depression and anxiety, like if you go to emergency, like people will tell you, they ask you, they say, like, are you thinking of hurting yourself? You know, and if you say you are, well, oh no, no, we're going to bring you in because we don't want you, to do anything. So it's the question, have you actually been thinking about actually doing it? Or is it just suicidal ideation? But anyway, I was at that point, and it's a sad place to be. But now looking back, I'm glad that I went through that, because now I know what it's like to feel that way. And so when I'm talking to other people, like in my work as a peer support worker, and I'm talking to somebody that's at that stage, I know what it feels like. I've been there, and I can relate and I can commiserate. And so I'm kind of glad that I know what it's like. And I don't regret the past now, or wish to shut the door on it. But anyway, I was at that point and I was thinking, well, look, if I'm going to end, how do I do it? So I remember, and this was a really sad moment, but I went out to the garage. I was living at a place that had a garage, and I got this rope, and I kind of said, well, look, I mean, like there's the rafter, and I tied this rope around my neck, and I wasn't thinking of doing anything, but I just wanted to kind of see what it felt like. And I tied this rope around my neck, and I kind of pulled it tight, and I'll tell you, that is the worst feeling in the entire world. I said, look, that is not going to happen. That is a horrible, horrible feeling. It's scary, really, really scary. So anyway, I went into the house and I sat down at the kitchen table. And I remember I think it was a Sunday afternoon. And I sat down at the chair. And at that time I was in a church and I used to read the Bible, like a lot. Like we were supposed to read the Bible half an hour a day. But I kind of did, it was one thing I really did. And I did that for years and years and years. So anyway, uh, what I did was I said, okay, I'm just going to read the Bible, and I'm just going to flip it open, and I'm going to see what it says. So I threw it open, and I began to read what was on the page where it just flipped open arbitrarily. And these are the words that I read. I call heaven and earth today as witness that I have set before you life and death. Therefore, choose life, that you may live, that you may love your higher power, God as you understand God to be, that you may cling to him, for he is your life. And I remember when I read that, I looked up and I went, holy fuck, you're talking to me, aren't you? I mean, you're really talking to me, aren't you? I mean, you want me to choose life. I was so excited. I couldn't believe that I was reading that. But I just choose life. You want me to choose life, don't you? Like you're talking to me, aren't you? And I was so excited. I was just beside myself, kind of like with joy, kind of in a way, to read those words. And I read them over and over and over. Choose life. Choose life. And anyway, I just decided then and there, okay, I don't care what I have to go through. If I have to go through hell and high water, whatever I have to go through, I am going to choose life. I'm going to choose life. And I've gone through hell twice. I've gone through two periods of real depression, you know, and I always choose ended up choosing life. And the fact that I'm here right now doing this podcast is proof that I chose life, because there was many, many, many times when I didn't feel like choosing life. So that was just such an incredible thing that happened to me, and it was just absolutely amazing. And it goes on to say, be strong and of good courage. Do not fear, nor be afraid of them. For your higher power, God as you understand God to be, he will go with you. He will not leave you or forsake you. And, and that's always been true for me. Though I've gone through hell on earth, um, there's been hundreds and hundreds of times when I've realized I've had to reach out, and there's been things that have happened in my life that, have helped me on my way, and I've been able to carry on. And it's been a great adventure. I wouldn't change it for anything. I wouldn't change that adventure for anything. And and that's been such a profound part of my life, and there's not a day that goes by when I don't realize, because what I really realize, it says that for my higher power is my life. And and I always tell myself that almost on a daily basis, for he is my life. He or she, God as I understand God to be, he or she is my life. And the fact that I'm here, the fact that I'm able to do anything that I do is because he or she is my life. And we together we live, we prosper, and we are who we are. And and that's what gives me confidence. That's what makes me who I am. And it's just so interesting. That's been such a huge part of my life. And just to think you're going through life and you're just keeping total secrecy. No matter what you do or what you say, this is in the background. You keep it secret. While it is it's been such a big part of my life. And so, like when I started this today, I had no idea where this is going to go, because for me, it's coming out of hiding, and telling something that is so precious to me and so much a part of my life, and it's so real. And uh, so anyway, coming out of hiding and telling this story, telling this reality. I think one of the big reasons why I never told this story was because I'm obviously setting myself up for criticism. Like uh, like with religion, say for example, um, like Nietzsche said, he said God. He's famous for saying God is dead. But what most people don't realize, he followed that up by saying all of us have killed him. And when you see the hypocrisy in religion, and I mean, it's so prevalent, and it's so iniquitous that I'm appalled. And I think the whole world should be appalled. I think that a lot of the world is appalled by just the hypocrisy that we've seen in religion. But I just want you to know, I don't have a church. I'm not trying to get you, I'm not trying to convince you to send me money or anything like that because of my story. All I'm doing is telling my truth, my story, and that's the end of it. And I'm telling the story because uh, now I'm in a position where my purpose in life is to help the other guy. And and I think the more honest I can be, and I'm still in the process of coming out of hiding. There's no question about that. But I'm doing so much better than I did, say, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, before I was able to connect the dots and see the relationship between addiction, codependency, and childhood trauma and shame. You know, and and the way we get better, the way we recover, is to come out of hiding and to deal with that shame, and to deal with that trauma. And I'm learning more all the time. I'm taking courses and reading books, and like all the time, becoming more aware of it. And it's such an interesting field, and there's so much that we can do to help people, and that's the path I'm on. So anyway, I I I think I've kind of said what I really wanted to say. So I think I'm going to leave this one at that. I've really, this has been kind of something I never thought I would come out and say. And, but what I'm saying is what happened to me. It's my true story, and that's all it is. It's just my true story. And I just kind of feel good to be able to come out and tell my story. And and if you don't like it, or if you want to criticize it, quite honestly, I just don't care. And that's, for me, that's a huge thing, just to say, I don't care if you don't like what I say. I've said it and I stand by it, and it's my truth. And it's great to be able to do that. It's kind of like a new page in my life. So I think I'll just leave it at that.